You see, we're all employees ultimately. We just work at different levels, said Rich Dad. I just want you boys to have a chance to avoid the trap caused by those two emotions, fear and desire. Use them in your favor, not against you. That's what I want to teach you. I'm not interested in just teaching you to make a pile of money. That won't handle the fear or desire. If you don't first handle the fear and desire and you get rich, you'll only be a highly paid slave. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody is feeling great and is ready for another wonderful day. So we are here to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I need to figure out how to get it to work on the Zoom as well as it does on the BIGO with this background. But I can tell you that it is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I am looking forward to reading some more of chapter 1, where we are getting through slowly. And we are still with Robert Kiyosaki talking to his rich dad about how employees think about money and how they have this fear and how to overcome that and separate yourself from the money and from the emotion. So we'll continue on from where we left off. And so we are at the point of, you see, we're all employees ultimately. We just work at different levels, said Rich Dad. I just want you boys to have a chance to avoid the trap caused by those two emotions, fear and desire. Use them in your favor, not against you. That's what I want to teach you. I'm not interested in just teaching you to make a pile of money. That won't handle the fear or desire. If you don't first handle the fear and desire and you get rich, you'll only be a highly paid slave. So how do we avoid the trap, I asked? The main cause of poverty or financial struggle is fear and ignorance, not the economy or the government or the rich. It's self-inflicted fear and ignorance that keeps people trapped. So you boys go to school and get your college degrees, and I'll teach you how to stay out of the trap. The pieces of the puzzle were appearing. My highly educated dad had a great education and a great career, but school never taught him how to handle money or his fear of it. It became clear that I could learn different and important things from two fathers. So you've been talking about fear of not having money. How does the desire for money affect our thinking? Mike asked. How did you feel when I tempted you with a pay raise? Did you notice your desires rising? We nodded our heads. By not giving in to your emotions, you were able to delay your reactions and think. That is important. That was the separation that I was talking about last time. Most people live their lives chasing paychecks, pay raises, and job security because of the emotions of desire and fear, not really questioning where those emotion-driven thoughts are leading them. It's just like the picture of a donkey dragging a cart with its owner, dangling a carrot just in front of its nose. The donkey's owner may be going where he wants to, but the donkey is chasing an illusion. Tomorrow there will only be another carrot for the donkey. You mean the moment I picture a new baseball glove, candy, and toys, that's like a carrot to a donkey? Mike asked. Yes, and as you get older, your toys get more expensive. A new car, a boat, and a big house to impress your friends, said Rich Dad with a smile. Fear pushes you out the door and desire calls to you. That's the trap. So what's the answer? Mike asked. What intensifies fear and desire is ignorance. That is why rich people with lots of money often have more fear the richer they get. Money is the carrot, the illusion. If the donkey could see the whole picture, it might rethink its choice to chase the carrot. Rich Dad went on to explain that a human's life is a struggle between ignorance and illumination. He explained that once a person stops searching for information and self-knowledge, ignorance sets in. That struggle is a moment-to-moment decision to learn to open or close one's mind. Look, school is very important. You go to school to learn a skill or profession, to become a contributing member of society. Every culture needs teachers, doctors, mechanics, artists, cooks, business people, police officers, firefighters, and soldiers. Schools train them so society can thrive and flourish, said Rich Dad. Unfortunately, for many people, school is the end, not the beginning. That's where a lot of people just stop learning and think, I've done everything that I need to do. There's nothing else for me to do now. And they don't understand that they can think deeper on the subject of, well, what do I do now? Do I have choices? They just think, I need to get a good job. I need to get the money. I need to look better than my neighbor. I need to have a bigger car. I need a boat. And so they just follow this path rather than deciding for themselves, what can I do? Do I have choices? Can I do things differently? And if you want to follow society's path, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There are people that follow that path. There are people who follow a different path. There are people who still have the cars and the houses and the boats, but they're not as heavily indebted, and they're not at the point where they're potentially going to get themselves into trouble financially and ruin the rest of their lives. There are people who do it in a smarter way, where they take their time and they are able to make money in a way that they don't have to be highly indebted, and where the money just makes itself rather than they're going to work and relying on that to be able to pay for everything. I've been a little cruel today, said Rich Dad, but I want you to always remember this talk. I want you to always think of Mrs. Martin, and I want you to always remember that donkey. Never forget that fear and desire can lead you into life's biggest trap if you're not aware of them controlling your thinking. To spend your life living in fear, never exploring your dreams, is cruel. To work hard for money, thinking that it will buy you things that will make you happy, is also cruel. To wake up in the middle of the night terrified about paying bills is a horrible way to live. To live a life dictated by the size of a paycheck is not really living a life. Thinking that a job makes you secure is lying to yourself. That's cruel, and that's the trap I want you to avoid. I've seen how how money runs people's lives. Don't let that happen to you. Please don't let money run your life. A softball rolled under our table. Rich Dad picked it up and threw it back. So what does ignorance have to do with greed and fear, I asked. Because it is ignorance about money that causes so much greed and fear, said Rich Dad. Let me give you some examples. A doctor wanting more money to better provide for his family raises his fees. By raising his fees, it makes healthcare more expensive for everybody. It hurts the poor people the most, so they have worse health than those with money. Because the doctors raise their fees, the attorneys raise their fees. Because the attorneys' fees have gone up, school teachers want to raise, which raises our taxes, and on and on and on. Soon there will be such a horrifying gap between the rich and the poor that chaos will break out and another great civilization will collapse. History proves that great civilizations collapse when the gap between the haves and the have-nots is too great. Sadly, America's on the same course because we haven't learned from history. We only memorized historical dates and names, not the lessons. Aren't prices supposed to go up, I asked? In an educated society with a well-run government, prices should actually come down. Of course, that is often only true in theory. Prices go up because of greed and fear caused by ignorance. Exactly that story that Robert Kiyosaki is talking about. If everybody learned that lesson, then there wouldn't be that greed and fear, and there wouldn't be this constant need for more and more and more. But that's only a theory. Of course, people are going to feel that they are going to need more, and somebody hasn't learned that lesson, so they are going to increase their prices. But don't we have business schools, Mike asked, and haven't you encouraged me to go for my MBA? Yes, said Rich Dad, but all too often business schools train employees to become sophisticated bean counters. Heaven forbid a bean counter takes over a business. All they do is look at the numbers, fire people, and kill the business. I know this because I hire bean counters. All they think about is cutting costs and raising prices, which causes more problems. Bean counting is important. I wish more people knew it, but it too is not the whole picture, added Rich Dad angrily. I know quite a few accountants. Not all of them. Some of them understand how it works properly. But I know quite a few accountants who look at a business who don't understand who is in the business and what the clients are thinking. And they'll just look at the numbers and say, this has to happen. We need to fire this number of people. But they don't necessarily always realize that the clients are actually getting the right amount of service. And if we cut those people, the service level goes down and the clients will actually stop coming. And so you need to be able to connect as an accountant, not only the numbers and what the numbers are telling you, but also what is the human cost. And very often in accounting, that is not taught, very sadly. So is there an answer? Asked Mike. Yes, said Rich Dad. Learn to use your emotions to think, not think with your emotions. When you boys mastered your emotions by agreeing to work for free, I knew there was hope. When you again resisted your emotions when I tempted you with more money, you were again learning to think in spite of being emotionally charged. That's the first step. Why is that step so important? I asked. Well, that's up to you to find out. If you want to learn, I'll take you boys into the briar patch. You play almost every one of them. If you go with me, you'll let go of the idea of working for money and instead learn to have money work for you. And what will we get if we go with you? What if we agree to learn from you? What will we get? I asked. The same thing Briar Rabbit got, said Rich Dad, referring to the classic children's story. Is there a briar patch? I asked. Yes, said Rich Dad. The briar patch is our fear and greed, confronting fear, weakness, and neediness by choosing our own thoughts is the way out. Choosing our thoughts? Mike asked, puzzled. Yes, choosing what we think rather than reacting to our emotions. Instead of just getting up and going to work because of having the money to pay your bills is scaring you, ask yourself, is working harder at this the best solution to this problem? Most people are too afraid to rationally think things through and instead run out the door to do a job they hate. The tar baby is in control. That's what I mean by choosing your thoughts. And in this case, yesterday I was in one of my masterminds and I suggested to everybody a story that I read about in a different book about a gentleman called Mike Milken, who was a very, very successful and wealthy man in the 1980s. And what he used to do was think. He took thinking time. So he was in a meeting with somebody who was doing a pitch, and he usually didn't show up for all of the pitches. He was extremely wealthy. He didn't have to show up for everything, but he would show up for this meeting in particular. And the author of this book was the person giving the pitch. And during the pitch, somebody comes in and whispers something to Mike Milken in his ear and says, "You need to make a decision on this investment." And Mike Milken got quite upset, and he said, "Look, now is not the time to discuss this. I'm in the middle of the pitch. I want to focus and listen to this pitch so I can make the best decision I can on this. But I'm not going to make a decision on this immediately either because I have my thinking time." So he says, tomorrow morning at 4:30, I have dedicated some time to thinking about that question you just asked me. He says, I don't care how important the other person thinks they are. He says, I need to look after for myself. So I am going to devote that thinking time to asking myself questions about that particular thing. Is it a good investment? Is there anything hidden that I haven't thought of? Are there any challenges that might come up about that investment? Is it the right investment for me? So he asks himself all of these different questions. And early in the morning, you still have access to your subconscious mind. And that allows you to then be able to think more clearly and come up with better answers. If you make a decision immediately on an investment, sometimes they'll tell you, oh, it's last chance to be able to get this. You only have 10 minutes to make a decision. And that is all an illusion. So Mike Milken never allowed himself to be swayed by marketing tactics. He would always say, my thinking time is at 4:30 in the morning. I will have a think about it tomorrow morning at 4:30. If the offer is gone before 4:30, then obviously you're possibly trying to cheat me in some way, shape, or form. So I'm not interested. There are other opportunities out there. I don't have to take this one immediately. There are other opportunities, and I'll do my thinking time at 4:30 tomorrow morning to see whether that's the right one or not. So we need to be able to have a look at the world like we were talking about before. And even if it's just 10 minutes before you usually wake up, 20 minutes before you usually wake up, and you meditate and think about what it is that you need to do for the day, what kind of investments you have coming up, what kinds of things are potentially going to stop you, whether it's a good investment or not a good investment, whether it's a good idea or not such a good idea. And then you can use that to your advantage in order to be able to make better decisions. So we'll leave that at that one there. We're still in chapter 1. We are on page 60, and we'll continue on with, and how do we do that, Mike asked. So I hope you're enjoying Rich Dad Poor Dad. I hope you're especially enjoying the commentary, because you can also just go to Audible and listen to Rich Dad Poor Dad online. If you would like to catch up on any parts of this chapter that you have missed, if you'd like to leave your comments, and if you'd like to let me know whether you agree or disagree, or whether you have any additional thoughts, you can do that at YouTube. The Passive Cash Flow Club is where you will find us. Make sure you hit subscribe, because we're not only going to be doing these readings, but we also have some other videos planned for 2022 that I'm extremely excited about sharing with you in the coming year. And so with only 2 days left of this year, I am still working on and making sure that I finalize and add the best ideas possible with my thinking time to be able to create those amazing videos for you next year that are going to add value to your life in order to be able to bridge the gap from playing the game, cash flow, and reading books like Rich Dad Poor Dad and implemented it in real life, because I used to have a cafe. We used to play Robert Kiyosaki's board game Cash Flow, and a lot of people would not implement. They would read the book, they would think it was wonderful, but not know how to bridge that gap, not be too afraid, which is what we've just been talking about. And we've been talking about how to remove that fear. And they'd be afraid to then implement it in real life, whether they would lose the money or something would go wrong or they'd make a mistake. And that's what you need to be able to get past. So this is why also starting again, I believe, this week or next week, and send me a message if you'd like to know more. We run cash flow events here in Sydney. I own the Sydney Cash Flow Club, and I've teamed up with Mladen, who's actually online with me on Zoom right now, watching this reading as well. And we created a version of Robert Kiyosaki's board game, which takes it a little bit more into real life, into the realms of real life. And it has a little bit more realism, and it adds extra things such as taxation and other things that are not in the game. So definitely make sure that you look into the game Cash Flow, and then also come and play the more advanced version, and you will see that it's possible to bridge that gap and to start doing things in real life. If you're already investing, you'll also learn how to invest in a smarter and better way, and how you can play around with different ideas and strategies. Also, if you'd like to see what I'm up to and get in touch directly, you can also do that on Instagram. And you can find me there at business_team_6_official. And I would love to hear from you there. Make sure that you also leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the reading. If you have any ideas, if there's anything that you'd like to add to some of the comments that I have already made, because right now it's predominantly my comments. I can see that some of you on BIGO are asking questions or sending me little hearts or different other things. But I would also love to know what your thoughts are, whether you are an investor, what you invest in, how you invest, what kinds of lessons you've learned, and anything that you'd like to add that you've also experienced similar to what Robert Kiyosaki is going through, or any of the other books or any of the other material that I produce to help you on your journey to investing more smartly or getting started, either one of the two. So thank you very much for joining. I am looking forward to seeing you again. Let's have a look. Let's still do tomorrow. Yeah, we'll do tomorrow the 31st, last day of the year. We will still do a reading. I think that it's always good to do a reading. And if you are busy or out of phone network because you're out in the bush or something like that, then you can always watch the replay at the Passive Cash Flow Club on YouTube. So I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for joining. I always highly appreciate it. Have an amazing day today. I would definitely recommend having a look at working on your goals for next year so that you can hit the ground running. And I'm looking forward to seeing you achieve all those goals and being a part of that journey together with you. So have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.